Hey everybody, how you doing? And I hope you're well. Once again, we've got another situation in the unfolding saga that is the NFL's consistent streak of its head coaches, for the most part, hiring. Well, among those positions that are open, it's head coaches or the owners hiring friends to be either coach or in this case coordinator, in this case defensive coordinator, in the scenario that features the Atlanta Falcons head coach Arthur Smith and the new defensive coordinator, the returning to the NFL after a short period of retirement for the second time, Dean Spees. And you got to ask what's going on, because it's always presented that this is the most competent person. And let's just look at how that plays out this time. Again, this is 10 things to know about new Falcons defensive coordinator, Dean Spees, right? And it reads as follows. It says, this is by the Falcons Wire, USA Today, which is mainstream media. The Falcons have hired 8 coaches over the past 24 hours. One of those coaches is veteran defensive play caller Dean Spees, the former Titans, Ravens, and Patriots coordinator. Here are 10 things to know about Spees as he prepares to take over Atlanta's defense in 2021. And you have to scroll all the way down and find that he says, okay. It's in little bitty font, so if you scroll like I'm doing, you're going to miss it. So let's go up and read what we missed, okay? First, he's been coaching for 40 plus years, okay? Then he was head coach at Kent State, okay? Then he coached with 2 Belichicks, okay? Then he won 2 Super Bowls as DC with the 2004 Patriots and with the Baltimore Ravens in 2012, okay? And Ray Lewis can't praise him enough because he has a unique ability to listen to his players, okay? And he worked with Arthur Smith at Tennessee. Let's stop there, all right? He retired twice before joining the Falcons. And finally, less coupon codes get in the way, the Titans had wanted him back, but they didn't bring him back. He retired. He said, nah, I'm retired. But he said if the right situation were to come up, here's something. Dirk Carter is retiring after 39 years of coaching. That's what Dean Pease should have done. Just simply enjoyed his retirement. There are plenty, plenty of extremely talented African-American men, NFL defensive coordinators, paced by the legendary Marvin Lewis right here, who has already announced he's staying at Arizona State. And it may very well be because he thought that he was making enough money at Arizona State and said that Arizona State Sun Devils solo defensive coordinator is going to be Antonio Pierce, and who's a former Pro Bowl linebacker with the Giants. And Lewis is going to remain on staff as special assistant to Herm Edwards. And so you can see what that was all about. That was basically Lewis saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to give the young guy a chance and not press it, and I'll stay on the staff. But also he wasn't getting the respect that his white counterparts were getting in getting jobs at the level that Dean Pease is. Dean Pease is allowed to walk basically in and out of jobs, whereas Marvin Lewis is not. So what happens is you have a number of talented black head coaches. You've got Marvin Lewis, Kris Richard, Winston Moss. Derek Mason was out there, but fortunately he was snapped up as the new defensive coordinator of the Auburn Tigers. And there are many others that are just as talented, smart, accomplished, and able and willing to take defensive coordinator jobs in the NFL as their white counterparts. But what is it that Dean Spees had over really anything else, it was that Arthur Smith knew him, all right? That he was familiar with him, that they worked together that 1 year on the staff of the Tennessee Titans in 2009. Their record was 9-7. They did beat, on I believe November 10th of 2019, the Kansas City Chiefs, only to have the Chiefs come back and win in the AFC Championship game because they mastered the riddle of how to corral Derrick Henry. If you take a good look at the success of Dean Pease, what you find is a person who has been on NFL teams that have had great running games. Great running games are matched. They actually, in a sense, buy you great defenses. Why? Because they keep the offense off the field, the opposing offense off the field. They keep the opposing offense off the field. It is a demoralizing sight to have a Derrick Henry able to just run like a truck, pick up first downs, mow over defensive linemen, scare women and children in the process, and win games. But the bottom line is Derrick Henry is a human being. He only has so much energy to do that, especially after the seasons he has been racking up. Derrick Henrys do not grow on trees. So you do not, and it is really irresponsible to evaluate Dean Pease's success in the Titans without thinking about Derrick Henry. So then you would say, what about the Baltimore Ravens? My answer, strong running game, offense that was installed by Jim Caldwell. Jim Caldwell's offense was really the offense that got the Baltimore Ravens into the Super Bowl and that ring. Dean Pease, yeah, he was the coordinator, but look, Dean Pease was in a position where he went up against Greg Roman's offense, but almost caused the Ravens to lose the Super Bowl because when they came out of the halftime and after the lights went on again, you know what happened? The 49ers came roaring back, and were it not for a couple of plays that did not go the way of Jim Harbaugh, head coach of the 49ers, in that game in the end zone or near the end zone, the Niners would have been the victors, and we wouldn't be crowing about Dean Pease because he would have had one Super Bowl ring and not two. But now he's got two. The other one he had with New England, power running game. And yeah, in those days, Dean was, prior to this onslaught of spread passing formations, the king of the hill in terms of defensive coordinators. He finished 7th in 2006, 4th in 2007, but then as the passing game started to spread out the field and become more advanced, and the Chip Kelly specialties started to move and weave their way into it, by 2010, he was 10th ranked, 9, he was 11th ranked, and then when he had to face a team like Kansas City, or any other team, it was very difficult to hold them down because he had used defensive alignments that in a number of cases actually prevented a win. He has much the same problem as Gus Bradley's defenses had in Jacksonville and in San Diego. They're just good enough to get you near the top, but they're not good enough to get you the win. And it also reflects how little the people that hire these guys know about football. Because if you have to go with someone you know, it means that you're not aware of what else is out there and what other people are doing in terms of innovative defense, relationship with players. Right now, you've got a guy in Tampa that is really the reason the Buccaneers were able to fart around with Tom Brady, deal with all these different mistakes, even that the great one made, and yet still remain in contention. And that is the Buccaneers defense helmed by Todd Bowles. So logic would say to you, why not hire the linebackers coach for that organization and work to replicate what the Buccaneers have done there, right? I mean, everyone's talking about, well, the Seattle defense and all this stuff, But the Seattle style of defense was really based on Rip Liz, a combination of Rip Liz, and then in terms of alignment, a combination of the Tampa 2, not the Tampa 2 up front. That's really Bud Carson's old Steelers defense design, but they don't slant their defensive tackle in the 3 position. It's a different situation. In the Seattle case, that produced that championship defense. But again, when Gus Bradley left, that defense would remain successful. And the Baltimore defenses remained successful after Dean Pease left. Baltimore had, with Jim Caldwell at offensive coordinator, a power running game with Ray Lewis. And then there are a number of other running backs that took Ray Lewis' place, and the Ravens didn't miss a beat. So you've got to look deeper behind the name to find out what the person really did and blow away all the smoke behind the hyperbole of describing what they did. And that's particularly true in Dean Pease's case. He said he would come back under the right situation. What does that mean? It meant that even though the Titans offered him an extension, it wasn't the right situation for him. I'm telling you something, folks. If you have to have a person on your staff and wonder if they're half committed or they're going to be gone the next year, do yourself a favor. Don't hire them. Hire someone else. Give someone younger a chance, African American too, because we have to break this common habit of people like yourself, perhaps, watching this, who think that someone black automatically is to be a football player rather than a coach. That's completely wrong, all right? And all of this is perception. And what I mean perception is how you are designed to think by society's habits, who deserves a job and who does not. You have to think beyond that. You have to quite literally take the red pill. What does it mean to take the red pill? Take the red pill means look at society unflinchingly, all right, and deal with the reality of society and stop rejecting the reality of society and then move forward with that reality in your mind. And the reality is that because of racism, a number of great black NFL defensive coaches, including assistants, are either given a little bit of time to do their work, then they're fired or released, and they don't come back at all. Where in Marvin Lewis' case, they're allowed to stay in one place for a long time. Well, 2 places, the Ravens and then Cincinnati, and they don't get a chance again. Marvin Lewis is one of the great defensive minds of our time. To have that person sit as a staffer and an assistant to Herm Edwards when he should be running an NFL team himself is a perfect example of how racism keeps the best and the brightest on the bench and not coaching in the team. That's what's going on here. And right now, there are so many brilliant, talented African American at various aspects of coaching, offense and defense around the NFL that deserve a shot. It's not funny. The idea that if they do that, the NFL is going to be all black or all this is wrong. The simple fact of the matter is that when you start taking a broad look at society and the way it's changing, guess what? We really are approaching a meritocracy. Cream does rise to the top, and you have to remove the barriers that are stopping that. And right now, this affirmative action for white guys is one of those barriers that's really stopping it. It really is. And it's always whether hiring their friends or somebody they know. How about somebody you didn't know? How about the professionalism of working with a person and building something that becomes a multi-championship organization? Looks like Belichick was able to do that sort of, but, well, they got another relationship there. And not only that, the more African Americans you bring in who are talented, who are young, guess what? They become part of that relationship churn too. I submit this. There is a lot of incompetence in the National Football League. You give me your offensive team, and I will, in a drill, 7-on-7, 11-on-11, give me your third string quarterback, my third string quarterback, and with you, and your third string talent will beat your first string. Okay? My guys will kick your guys' ass. All right, straight up, because we have an approach that you're not familiar with. And not only that, you have never seen what your guys can do in the system that I use. All right. There are a lot of me's out there. And I'm not, by background, first a coach. I'm urban planning. But analytics and the ability to think analytically allows you to step into many different roles in society and succeed. And that's the key right there. It's the ability and the desire to want to analyze a situation, arrive on the scene, if you will, and chart a course. All right. Some coaches are simply just glorified PE teachers. Stop hiring glorified PE teachers and start hiring professionals. And if you're doing this because you don't know the game of football really yourself, beyond your position, be honest about it. And then if it's not right for you, do everybody a favor and do the NFL owners a favor. Stop wasting their money and get the fuck out of the way. There are people out there brighter than you. There are people out there better than you. But just because you have a friend here or relation there, and maybe or maybe your wife is related to somebody else's and that's that person's sister and all that stuff, it's not helping society at all. It's not helping your organization. It's only helping you. All right. That's it. And that's a hard truth. It really is. But I put that out there to say this. Stop implying that black guys are not talented enough. They are. All right. As much as anybody who is white. And in some cases more so when you look at people like Kris Richard or Winston Moss, or in particular, even above them, Marvin Lewis, and then Derek Mason, who again was hired as a defensive coordinator for the Auburn Tigers. Don't be surprised if Auburn becomes the SEC champion, because they hired a guy who's an expert at stopping read option spread offenses in Derek Mason. Everybody knows it, okay? Everybody knows it. So I don't predict success for the Falcons with Dean Pease. I don't, because if I'm going to go up against the Falcons, you know what I'm going to do? The first thing I'm breaking out the videos that had Dean Pease as the defensive coordinator. I'm looking at his alignments. I'm looking at how he responded in certain situations, and I'm making sure that I have a ready package to beat that, boom, right out the gate. There's a book on him. Same with Kris Bradley with the Raiders. There's a book on him, okay? So you're going to tell me, oh, I like him, and you're going to make up something he was the mastermind behind the Seattle defense and all that. You know who created the Seattle defense? Pete Carroll did. Because if that were the case, if Gus Bradley were the person that really created the Seattle defense, he would still be with Seattle. And they would have had more Super Bowls with him, all right? That didn't happen. And not only that, he would have replicated that success with Jacksonville, but he didn't. He didn't. And his now former cornerback said why. He kept running the same defenses all the time. He was predictable. Okay? That was with him as head coach. Him. And so some of you who are Raider fans are like drinking the company Kool-Aid and extolling the virtues. And you know what? You're setting yourself up for, once again, disappointment. Falcon fans, you're headed the same way. You're headed precisely the same way. All right? This affirmative action for white guys is not going to get you a win. It's just not. Okay? And the reason why we had affirmative action in the first place is because the affirmative action for white folks was overrunning. It was first just pure racism. They didn't want to hire anybody black. Now it's, well, that's my friend. To which someone would say, well, you don't have any black friends? What's wrong with you? All right. And then there's this, well, I'm going to use the term minority. And very happy that Robert Saleh got his position. Okay. Absolutely. He's going to be a great coach. But the reaction among some of you is to say he's minority. He's not. He's not Black American. You cannot, and I will personally not allow anybody to avoid the fact that racism carves out all of this. When you try to explain it away, it means you know it's there. You don't want to deal with it. In some cases, you want it to remain because it feeds your prejudices. We need to get over that. We just had 4 years of a dude who tried to take advantage of your issues, if you have them, in terms of being racist, for his own gain. You were used. It's called Machiavellian technique. Wake up, folks. Wake up. All right. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. We'll see you.